The first FPL deadline in 11 days is here, and there are some big calls to make. And for me, it centres around two key factors: when to wildcard and how to get there. And for me, the first point is simple. It has to be a game week 32 wildcard. And I will tell you for why. Because there is a 3 game week period between game weeks 31 and 32. Such a lot of time to plan. Such a lot of decisions can make, so much that can go wrong approaching such a crucial part of the season. And for me, I want that powerful chip. This second point is that we will have the maximum information at that time with the maximum time left to exploit it. And the third key point in the game week 32 wildcard goes back to what my man Trout told me in that Sol versus Solio interview with such that legendary figure. And he said the best time to engage in risk is in the closing game weeks of the season, is in that big running. And it's something I agree with. It's something I've always agreed with. And his point is that when you're at the running, that is when you have the most information, but also not just about the players, not just about the fixtures, but about your own team. That is when you know how much risk you need to engage in, how many chances you need to take to achieve your goals. And, there's a little dog coming. and that is important for me, because when you are chasing like I am down to 1.3 million, I'm climbing. But I've still got a long way to go. And when you're in that position, you need to know when to attack, how to attack, and what is the best possibility of making those big gains. For me, that is knowing the double game weeks, the blank game weeks, which players to target and which players to go against. The question is, why not now? Why not game week 24? Both quite popular game weeks for which to do it. And for me, the reasons not to do it is there's too much uncertainty now. We've got these new managers at Man United, new manager at Chelsea. There's too much uncertainty over the player roles, how people are going to respond to coming back from the African Cup of Nations. For me also, the fixture swing. Yes, it's nice for Chelsea. Yes, it's nice for Crystal Palace, but it's not good enough to wildcard. I don't think the players we can get in are good enough to justify playing the most powerful chip. And I feel like also it creates too much difficulty in planning for later double and blank game weeks. Like, yes, you might steal a match in the coming weeks, but when we get to game week 32, when we get to the running of the season, you're just going to wish you had the wild card. Because whatever goes wrong now, you can make up later on. You can adjust your risk parameters to suit the situation. If you play it now, and, if you're going in game week 22, you've already played the chip. And now it's about how you can save the situation because you've blundered. And I know it's team dependent, and I know it's not what you want to hear, but it's just the facts. And on this channel, we'll deal with the facts, and the facts are this: it is a blunder. So now you have to decide how you're going to do it, because you're in a position where you're going to end the season with a massive disadvantage to some of the elite players in the game, to the field. So it's a big challenge for you, and I don't envy you. And it's a mistake I nearly made, but I talked myself out of it. And I'm glad I did, because it's not the time. And I feel like the players that have wildcarded know it's not the time. So the thing is, it can be saved, but it's going to be difficult, and we'll get into that shortly. But so for me, knowing that I'm going to wildcard in game week 32, we move on to the next point, and that is how to get there. Walking past me work, there's me work in the background, the office. Hello. Don't want to be going there today. Also, don't want them to be coming out and seeing me film this. Oof, quite warm, like. Got my new coat. I said in the last one about my new coat. Got my new coat. It's like a big fleecy sleeping bag. I've only got a little t-shirt underneath, middle of January. Sweating. I tell you what else I'm sweating on, these decisions. They're big decisions, season-defining decisions. And so the question for me is how to get to game week 32. This route's actually a little bit busier than I thought it would be. But never mind, we'll turn around. We'll go back this way. Because sometimes, like in FPL, you need to turn around. You need to reverse a decision, and I've done that. And I'll get into that in a little bit as well. So for me, how to get to game week 32, we will get back on track. Now it's a bit windy. Is this going to affect the integrity of the video? I should have planned for the wind. Now there's people. These videos are sending into farce when I needed concision. But right, so back to the point. Come on, Nightmare man. People haven't got time to waste for your ramblings. So how to get to game week 32? It's all about maximising your transfers, saving them where possible. Because if you can get to that game week 32 wildcard with 3 or 5 transfers in the bank, that is such a powerful position to be in. It is such an elite position to be in, and that's what we all want, really. That is the dream scenario, to wildcard, knowing you still have the transfers to attack that running with. And that has to be the plan. That has to be the strategy. So when you do use your transfers, and we are going to have to use transfers, and when we do, we have to make sure they are good until game week 31, until that wildcard trip becomes active, because we don't want to be wasting them switching from one good player to another good player at this point in the season. The gains are there, but they're not big enough to justify throwing away the running. So how do we do that? We focus on these 3 key elements. Well, 4 key elements, several key elements. We focus on the DEFCONs. We focus on the penalties. We focus on the talismans. Most of all, we focus on the routes to points and the minutes. We want security of minutes. We want robustness. And that means sometimes we have to let players go who may do well. We have to let those opportunities pass which others may benefit from, because longer term, we will have the advantage for doing so. It will benefit our teams to do so. And you can't, it's like in football, you just can't attack for 90 minutes. You can't go balls to the wall, chasing the maximum reward every second of the season. Sometimes you have to play a bit of possession football. Sometimes you have to sit back and defend. You have to tuck in. Sometimes you have to let the opponent have the ball and trust that you can keep them at bay, keep them at arm's length. And like, you've got to remember, Man City can win against Exeter with double figures, but even they conceded a goal. And that is what we have to remember. Sometimes to get the 10th goal, we need to concede 1. We need to be prepared to concede 1 to get the 10. And that's what we're going to have to do with transfers to maximise the rest of the season. It is all about identifying where to let players go and when to bring them in, who are the absolute essentials for our teams. Obviously, it is team specific and heavily influenced by how many transfers you have and what position you are in the ranks, in your own personal goals for the season, your mini leagues. And that brings us nicely onto my team. Trying very hard to be concise here because I've promised concision recently. Is concision even a word? I don't know. But I've promised it recently and I haven't delivered. We've been going 35, 40 minutes and this is a challenge to me. I want to keep it real. I want to keep it as concise as possible. So stop meandering, Nightmare. Stop rambling. But I'm cold. I am cold. Apart from my body with my wonderful jacket. So warm. Say hello to the dead minions. Hello, minions. Right, so how can I put all this theory into practice? Well, I had my ideal game week 24 squad. I shared it last week, maybe the week before. I can't remember. The North Star, if I wildcarded what I would be going for, and it was either Pickford or Roofs in goal with Dubravka. It was Gabriel, Timber, Munoz, Tarkovsky, Mukiele in defence. It was Rice, Palmer, Fernandez, Guimaraes and Xhaka in midfield. That's Granit Xhaka, not Bukayo Saka. And it was Haaland, Thiago and Krupa Jr. up front. And I'm already priced out of that. You know, we've not even hit the game week 22 deadline, and that dream has gone. Much like the Banshees of Inisherin, that dream is gone. But that's okay, because there's always routes to points in this game. There is always another option. And for me now, I need to prioritise who to sell and who to replace. And I look at my current squad and I can rule out a few transfers. You can see it on the screen there. Quite away from that ideal squad, but we can rule out a few of them. Dean Henderson can remain as goalkeeper. Now, I've been set on getting rid of him for a while, and I've got to thank the D unit, my man, the D unit. I've got to thank him for this, because he highlighted, Nightmare man, the fixtures have swung. You've been twining about Dean Henderson for so long, you've missed the fact that his fixtures have improved. And that's good. And he has got a nice run. So good. We're all thinking about wildcarding to get the Palace players in, so why sell them? I'm not going to. I'm going to keep him now because it's a transfer I don't need to make. That's fine. There's a chance Henderson is a top scoring goalkeeper until the wild card now, between now and the wild card, so certainly don't think it's worth selling him now. Ekitike, now he was the big cash cow, but I'm going to keep him. As long as he stays fit, I am going to keep Ekitike and rule out Krupa Jr. for now. And, you know, that might be a mistake. Such a budget option. Here's the Hosses. Here's the Hosses. Hello, Hosses. You enjoying the hair? We have to make hay when the sun shines in FPL. And I'm just trying to figure out the best way to do it. Here's me Hossie pals. Ruud van Nistelrooy over there. So, we'll keep the Hosses in camera for a while, eh? Hello, Hossies. You don't want my ugly mug. So, yeah, I'm ruling out Krupa for now. I'm going to keep Ekitike. And there's a few reasons for that. One, he is unchallenged in his role as centre forward at Liverpool. He's axed out for a long time, so that's fine. That is a good differential to go for. He's a great risk to engage in because he has that explosive power. Back-to-back. Hello. Back-to-back double-figure hauls a few game weeks ago before that injury is a good sign. And we're going to leave the Hosses because I feel like we might be bothering them. They don't understand the pressure of FPL in the same way. They just want to eat their hair. Hello. So yeah, Ekitike, rule out Krupa. It's a lot of money. He's unchallenged in his role. He's a great risk to engage in because I think a lot of people are going to sell him in game week 24 after the next couple of fixtures, and I think that's a mistake. I do, and I feel that's where the opportunity comes with Ekitike, because like I was watching Above Average last night, excellent podcast, very well worth your time, and you know, Adam was on there bemoaning the fact that he wildcarded, and this is what I mean. You don't need to take it from me, take it from someone who has made the mistake. But yeah, definitely watch that one, brilliant. This is the, yeah, but Baker, he said, oh, Liverpool, absolute must sell in 24. And I challenged that assertion. One, Liverpool are starting to improve. May not be great improvement, but it is improvement nonetheless. And like, let's just reassess that fixture run. Burnley at home, Bournemouth away, Newcastle at home. I think they're three great fixtures. You know, Burnley goals, Bournemouth defensively a shambles. Yes, they've got decent data at home, but they are a bit of a shambles defensively. Don't feel like I need to be scared of that. Newcastle at home for Liverpool. Newcastle are knackered. We're knackered. We're running on fumes with barely any defenders. They're all dropping like flies. We've got such a tough run of fixtures every few days. And yes, Liverpool have got the games and whatnot, but I just feel that's one that I mean, we could get a hide in there. Traditionally, not a good hunting ground for Newcastle is Anfield. Then it's Man City, and that's a difficult one. But at the minute, they're defensively no great shakes either, so you could maybe gamble. But I'm going to have a squad, so I could just rest him. But then after that Man City game, Sunderland away, Forest away, tough, but not impossible, not implausible. Those teams concede goals to Ekitike. Then it's West Ham at home, Wolves away, Spurs at home, Brighton away. Like, they're great fixtures. And then it's game week 31. Like, which of those fixtures, if you take out Man City, which of those fixtures is to sell for Ekitike? I just don't think it's there. And I feel people are going to go for it. And I'm going to chance my hand, and I'm going to play the odds, and I'm going to go for it with Ekitike, as long as he remains fit. And that is a challenge. Will he remain fit? We'll just have to see. Longstaff, he was going to go to Granit Xhaka in my original plan, but now he's going to have to remain because he's just not worth the transfer unless I desperately need the cash. And I just don't think I'll get there. And we'll get to why I don't think I'll need it in a couple of minutes. It does rule out Granit Xhaka at this moment, but that's fine because the Granit Xhaka, Bruno Guimaraes home rotation plan works better with Mukiele anyway. And between the two, on that home rotation, 140 points. Second only to Erling Haaland. And me man Trigger made the point, have I run every possible combination? No, I haven't. But I don't need to, because it means I can get my talisman, Bruno Guimaraes, one of my most beloved players in my squad. And that's sometimes we need a bit of confirmation bias in this game. And I am happy to take it where Bruno G is concerned. So I'm happy with that. That's not a problem. So then it's about the priorities, right? I've already done Voltemada to Thiago. And I know you say you shouldn't make early transfers, but sometimes there are exceptions. And when you're selling the centre forward for your own team, sometimes you have to be decisive. And if I was making the call today, I'd keep Voltemada because Wissa started in the week. Wissa the misser, they're calling him. Oh, I feel that's harsh. I feel Wissa will come good, but he has struggled early doors. Wissa the misser is a savage nickname, though. If that sticks, don't know why I'm sharing it. Not very nice for good old Johan. So I did Voltemada to Thiago. Yes, it's not ideal to go early, but I gambled Thiago would be rested in the cup. He was. No issues. Unless the press conferences make me look stupid, which wouldn't be the first time. And yes, I would keep Voltemada, but then I'd be in the same position next week. Do I sell him? Do I keep him? And the week after. And the week after. And Thiago is a good player. And yes, people are saying the fixtures for Thiago aren't there. Some are saying Thiago's a sell. I don't buy that. And I'll explain. I don't think, from a striker's perspective, Thiago's fixtures are all that bad. I hope my microphone's holding up with the wind. Shouldn't have walked out in the open. But do you know what? It's been such a dark winter. It's been hard to get these walking videos, and it's a nice day. Bit of blue sky, bit of cold hands. Thought I'd do this way. So let me know if you like the team selection as a walking video. I like mixing up my content. Let me know what you think in them comments. So yeah, let's look at Thiago's fixtures. They're not as tough as they look at first sight. You know, I'm going to walk backwards. That's not really working, so I'm not going to do that. Right, so he's got Chelsea this weekend. Here comes the car. Chelsea is a tough fixture, you would think. But for a striker, it's just not so bad, eh? Like, according to Opta, Man United, Spurs and Wolves all have a better expected goals conceded than Chelsea. According to FPL Meerkat, Chelsea concede primarily to strikers. In the last 6 games, Chelsea have conceded the most big chances in the league. That, to me, does not scream selling an informed striker with 5 goals in 2 games on penalties. The caveat to it all is Chelsea's red card record, which does skew those stats somewhat. Oh yeah, it's cold. It's cold. And then after that, Thiago, after Chelsea, which I think is fine, he has Forest, which is fine. Then Thiago has Villa and Newcastle, and they're both tiring teams. Like, Villa are on a great run, but the fixtures are going to catch up with them. Europe, the Cups, pushing so hard. They don't have the most depth in the squad, neither do Newcastle. I think those fixtures could be fine for Thiago as well. And then it's Arsenal, which is tough. And I'll probably bench him that week, especially with being a double game week as well, perhaps. But then after that, it's a dream run for Thiago. So I'm not worried about Thiago at all. He might not be the optimum striker this week, but this is what I'm on about. It's about picking your battles. It's about tucking in a little bit, not being punished by the entire field if he goes off again. Tucking in, keeping the ball, letting the opponent play in front of me. So, yeah. Now, the rest of the wanted players in my dream squad were Cole Palmer, Bruno Fernandes, Yuri and Timber, and Daniel Munoz. And oh, here comes another car. They would be, yes. So the rest of the dream players, Palmer, Fernandes, Timber and Munoz. And they would be replacing Cunha, Foden, Nico O'Reilly and Lewis Hall. If I could only make 4 transfers between now and the game week 32 wildcard, those would be the 4. Except the problem is getting those 4 in. It's very difficult because of funds. Oh, the horses are back. So for me, of those 4, the 2 must-haves, no questions asked, so Yuri and Timber and Bruno Fernandes. Munoz is very highly desired because I don't think many will go there. And I think he has that differential potential, that explosive potential. Now, I could settle for Lacroix or Richards because, you know, they're both good for points. Lacroix, 2 assists all season, and he's up there with the top defenders. That shows how well he's doing with these DEFCONs. Problem is, if Guéhi leaves, I don't think he will. I think he'll wait till the summer and cash in. You can't blame a man for that. But that's not my priority transfer because Munoz isn't back for a few weeks. So we will wait and see in a few weeks if that's the move I'm going to make. Hello. Don't need to worry about that one just yet. Cole Palmer, I'm no longer interested. I have lost all interest in the lad. The fitness can't be guaranteed. Clearly needs an operation. Minutes will be managed. And this Rosenior chap, I just don't think he's going to do very well at Chelsea. And who knows what he's going to do. But yeah, Palmer, off the menu, not worth it at 10 point whatever million. Not when Enzo Fernandez is like £4 million cheaper. So I am desperate to get Timber in and I am prepared to take a hit to do so. The problem is it would need to be 2 hits to generate the funds. And the obvious one is the Cunha downgrade. So let's look at the options for replacing Cunha on a downgrade in order to afford Timber. Now, for me, it needs to be under 6.4 million so I can also afford Foden to Fernandes, and ideally I'd have a bit of wriggle room. Now, that rules out Enzo Fernandez because he rose last night and priced out, but that's maybe for the best. I'm not sold on Enzo Fernandez. And when you're clarting on with exact funds for transfers in 2 weeks, you're just asking for trouble. You want that wriggle room where possible. So, needs to be under 6.4 million. The best option with regards points is Harry Wilson, 5.9 million. Lots of wriggle room. he could rise in price. He could buy some more wiggle room by then if I sold him later on. But I just can't buy into him. I just don't. For me, people are talking about him like he's now an elite player, and I just don't think he is. I feel like this is an Almiron run rather than a Jacob Murphy run. Obviously, Jacob Murphy spanned the whole season. Almiron had that hot 10 weeks, and that was it. Maybe I'll be wrong, and maybe other people will get points off Wilson, and that's fine, because you can't have all the points, and I'm happy to let that one go. So, few other options. Harvey Barnes, he's in form, but double Newcastle isn't worth it. There's only one Newcastle attacker really worth it for me, and that's Guimaraes, and I've already got him. The train going by. Now between the wind and the trains, I've not picked the best time for a walking video. Mitoma. Now, in the Pubcast Differential Gurus game, I have gone Mitoma this week. It's a spicy differential. A great run until game week 28. But for my team, he's not the one, because his fitness isn't proven. And I think his fixtures take a nosedive after game week 28. So there's three that keep coming to mind. The first one is Granit Xhaka. Now look, I've said he can't replace Longstaff, but I could get him in for Cunha. The problem is it locks in a 4-3-3 system, but that could also work because I could rotate Guimaraes and Xhaka and Hall and Mukiele. Always having them two players at home with that points potential. I do like that. Longstaff would be the last sub. It would rule out any sort of selection headaches. It would keep that brain space free. I quite like that for that. And of course, Xhaka in the next three has Palace, West Ham and Burnley. Beautiful. He's got Defcons. He is the talisman of Sunderland. He's on set pieces, and maybe after that Enzo Lefebvre, farcical Panenka, maybe Xhaka will be on penalties. We just don't know. So I don't mind him as an option. Marcus Tavernier, he is the projections pick. And, you know, I don't mind it. He's on set pieces, possibly on penalties. He's now nailed. He maybe always was nailed. I don't think so. But now he is. Great fixtures. A lovely run until that wild card. And he does free up a lot of money. 0.9 million. Wiggle room is a lot of money for me, and that is good. He's a good option. And I'm not ruling him out. But the other one that keeps coming to mind is James Garner of Everton. And I know this feels a bit like, Garner? What on earth are you wanting Garner for? Well, for one, he's 5.1 million, which is the maximum wiggle room financially, while still having a great option. He only has 2 goals and 3 assists, James Garner, but he's got 95 points. And, you know, he's like the midfield Lacroix. He doesn't need the attacking returns to put up the huge numbers. He has a set piece share. He's got Defcons in his last 6 games. And of the 21 games he's played, only 5 of them have seen him score fewer than 3 points. He just keeps ticking along with that little bit extra, It's not massive gains, but it's consistently good gains. And when we're talking 22 to 31, 10 game weeks, that is, you know, it's an extra 10 points. And an extra 10 points is, you know, 200,000 places in the rankings where I'm at. If you can get 1 return, 2 returns, you know, that could be the difference. That could be an extra 20, 25 points. So it's good. However, what I do see when I look at him is he's had a big boost since game week 16. Is he benefiting from Undai being away? Is that why he's suddenly kicked into overdrive? Maybe. I don't know. Because it could also be, in game week 16, Kieran and Dewsbury Hall got injured. And since then, it's just been Defcons for Garner. Dewsbury Hall's going to be out for a while. So maybe that can continue. But if it's because of Undai, that could dry up next week. So I need to think about that. But I think it's worth a go, you know. So if I want Munoz, Fernandez and Timber, the midfielder needs to be 5.8 million or cheaper. From that list I've discussed, it is Garner, Xhaka or Tavernier. Now for me, Garner and Xhaka are very similar players. Same sort of routes to points, same sort of consistency of score. And of the two, yes, Xhaka rotates nicely with Guimaraes, Hall with Mukiele. But I just think Garner is the best option for flexibility. If I don't fancy a Sunderland double up, if I don't fancy a Newcastle double up, Garner gives that flexibility. Of course, Tavernier, you know, you'd say he's got the highest ceiling but the lower floor. However, if he'd scored those 2 penalties that Semenyo took, he'd be on the exact same score as James Garner so far, plus whatever bonus points from scoring the penalties. So I don't know if he does have a lower floor. The problem is, of course, Bournemouth are now a significantly weaker team. They just keep selling all the best players, and it's just unsustainable. So that's the problem. That's what it comes down to for me. Do I gamble on Tavernier, or do I go for the consistency of Garner? And if I look at my metrics, I feel like it has to be Garner or Xhaka. But of course, when I factor all this in, the key question is, do I take the -8 and do Cunha and O'Reilly to Timber and the midfielder this week? That's the key one. Because these are all hypotheticals, and I could do one of them next week, the other one the week after. But like, then I'm going to be putting Bruno Fernandes back a week, Munoz back 2 weeks. You know, it all starts stacking up. So if I look at the hit, there's pros and cons. Obviously, Timber is an elite player, and like, he is poised to haul at any moment. He's already got 120 plus point haul this season. Like, you look at his attacking numbers and they're so good. Arsenal, easily the best team for defensive. You know, it means the other pros, getting Timber in now means less money on my bench. I'll be benching Cunha this week. Is that really the way to go? I don't know. It protects me from the price swings. And this is important because I'm already having to scramble away from Enzo Fernandez for prices. If I wait, I'm going to have to do that again, perhaps, and again. And these things keep stacking up. Also, if I do the hit now, it fills the squad with nailed players with multiple routes to points, and I think that's important. I do. Because it would redistribute the funds to the first team while strengthening the bench. At the same time, while minimising the decisions and the brain power taxing on my brain. So I think that's good. But also, the key point for me, we talk about having those transfers built up for the wildcard, for the running. Taking the hit enables me to bank 2 transfers in the coming game weeks. And that's big. Like, you could say, oh, you can take the hit later. But who wants to be taking a hit in the final 6 game weeks of the season? Not me. I don't want to be doing that. I'd rather do it now. And this is where I went wrong earlier in the season. If you remember, I wildcarded in game week 3. And I panicked. And I wildcarded. And then after about 5 weeks, I'm like, why the hell didn't I just take a hit? Well, I'm here again. Why the hell am I not taking a hit? Well, there are reasons. For one, it creates a selection dilemma this week. I would be benching 2 of Tarkowski, Hall and Mukiele, which is not ideal, and it's a recipe for punishment. You know, maybe Tarkowski concedes a couple, only 3 points. Maybe he scores and keeps a clean sheet. Most of his hauls are coming away from home. Mukiele at home to Palace. Palace, their goals have dried up. Not scoring a lot. Sunderland are very good at home. And Mukiele, Defcon Monster, Defcon Daddy, correct myself there. And of course he has that attacking threat. And then Lewis Hall, away at Wolves. Yes, we do concede to Wolves a lot, but Lewis Hall, morning Mr. Magpie. Oh, there's two of them, we're all right. Two Magpies. Is that a sign for Lewis Hall to stay in the team? I feel like it is. Is that a sign to Captain Bruno Guimaraes? Calm yourself, Nightmare. It's just a pair of birds floating on the breeze. So, yeah, I don't know. It's the selection dilemma is a tricky one. But I feel like it's just been answered for me with the sudden arrival of those Magpies in the distance. Another con, the 8-point deficit drops me to 1.5 million in the rankings. So it's not ideal, but also at the same time, it's not really a game changer, because I feel Timber alone could make up that points difference this week. You know, if he scores and keeps a clean sheet, you're looking maybe 17 points. You know? So, over Cunha, who might even be benched. So, you know, O'Reilly will even play 60 minutes. So, oh no, I've lost my notes. So the 8-point deficit isn't too bad because, again, like I said, I'd rather take it now than in the final 6 game weeks of the season. Would rule out Bukayo Saka for the double game week, though. Do I want to lock in that at this stage? I'm not actually worried about it. I'm not, but maybe I should be. Because Saka, of all the Arsenal attackers, Saka's the one that could go the biggest. But I just think Timber will outscore him this season. And I think I'd rather have Timber in the double. Oh my God, there's people everywhere I look. We'll go this way, where there's at least a dog running around. And the other factor, of course, is it would rule out Chelsea for their great run of fixtures. Hello, pup. Hello. There we go. Let that dog go and catch his ball while we try and catch the points. It would rule out what I'm doing by bringing in Tavernier, Garner, Xhaka is ruling out Enzo Fernandez or a Chelsea midfielder, Chelsea player for that beautiful run of games. And that's a big call because we don't know what they're going to do. We don't even know who's going to line up for them. They have got a lot of fixtures outside of the Premier League. But do I want to lock in that right now? I don't know. I kind of think I do. Like we talk about engaging in risk. I feel like that is a good risk to engage in because it's one that could go wrong for a lot of people. They could get the wrong player. You know, like people, if you were to find out that everyone avoided Cole Palmer and then he was the only one that got points in those 4 games, wouldn't surprise you. So, yeah. And of course, I could just hold off on Bruno Fernandes nearer the time. Everywhere I walk, there's people. So that is the other option. I could end up deciding between Fernandes and a Chelsea midfielder in game week 24, which is maybe a sensible thing to do. So I am leaning towards the hit, but it would be a big risk. But maybe the bigger risk is not taking the hit at all when we consider all the implications. So to summarise, wildcard in game week 32. Prioritise robustness, minutes and routes to points until then. Sacrifice points in the short term to build transfers for that powerful run-in for an elite finish to the game. And now I need to decide whether to back the -8, whether to roll my transfer and play more cautiously. What would you do in my position? Let me know in the comments. Obviously, I've not been as concise as I like, but part of that is the wind, part of that is the much more public time of day, but I've done my best. We're getting there. So, thanks for watching. Enjoy your game week 22. I hope you make the right decisions. Thanks for watching. We will see you next time.